Now, Nottinghamshire Police have been handing out kitchen knives with rounded ends to victims of domestic abuse. The knives can cut food, but they can't be used to stab. The police force says it's trialling the knives to see if they can make victims feel safer in their households, but critics have warned the focus should really be on preventing people from being violent. So, are the blunt knives a good idea? Well, to discuss that, we're joined by Peter Kirkham, a former Detective Chief Inspector with the Met Police, and Mary Mason, Chief Executive of Solace Women's Aid. Thank you both very much for being with us. Peter, let me turn to you first. Good idea, bad idea?
An idea. It's obviously not the whole answer. It's not the only thing they're doing. It's not just the police doing it. It will be coming from the multi-agency arrangements they've got in place, like all forces have in terms of dealing with domestic abuse. A personal perspective, when you're dealing with risk in situations that you've got no way of preventing those situations existing, excuse me, and we know that in lots of cases, perpetrators and victims of domestic abuse stay together for a whole range of reasons. So in those sorts of situations, you look at reducing the risk by any way you can within that household, and it's a very small part of that.
But you know, if somebody is intent on attacking someone in their house and the knives are blunt, they'll just use something else, won't they?
Of course, that's a possibility, but this is one thing that can be done to just reduce the risk or the harm potentially caused by something that is obviously lying around and is often picked up in the heat of the moment when things are happening. And so if you can reduce it slightly for very little money, then why not do it?
OK, well, let's put that to Mary. If you can reduce the threat even in a little way for not very much money, then surely we should welcome it.
The problem is that we're not looking at what domestic abuse is, that it's a pattern of controlling behaviour that happens over a long period of time with multiple incidents. For example, the average amount of time that women have been in an abusive relationship when they come to Solace is over 6 years. We know that women experience 50 incidents of abuse before they report, but we also know that women attempt to report to the police and other agencies several times before they get the help that they need. And so I think that blunt knives just gives the wrong message about A, what domestic abuse is, but also about who is responsible for domestic abuse, i.e. the perpetrator, and how that woman can be safe, which is about getting the support they need earlier on. And so I would rather see the police looking at how they can decrease the amount of time, the number of visits somebody needs to make to the police station before that woman gets the support she needs.
I'm sure they're doing all those things already. Why are you portraying this?
Well, yeah.
Why are you portraying this as an either-or? Why are you not just accepting that it reduces the risk in a small way, and it may or may not be that after they trial it, they'll decide it's worth the money or it isn't? Why are you portraying it as if this is the police just saying, oh, if we give blunt knives out, it will solve the problem? They are not saying that, and it is not helpful at all when people like you say that.
Well, to be fair, the issue is, as you know, we see 15,000 women every year who've experienced domestic abuse. And I know the police see many more, but we still have huge issues as a society with how we deal with this, and we have huge issues with how perpetrators are responded to. And I think that giving somebody a blunt knife when there's huge number of other instruments around the house suggests that the perpetrator, in the flick of the moment, picks up a knife and stabs somebody, rather than, which is the case with most perpetrators, they have done that numerous and repeated times, and that they will continue to do that with any instrument available to them. The fact that there's a blunt knife rather than a sharp knife is not going to stop a perpetrator who is committing abuse to somebody over a long period of time.
Nobody's suggesting it will. But this is for the few situations that do exist where things are picked up in the heat of the moment and kitchen knives are used. I've been in mortuaries and seen kitchen knives sticking in plenty of victims in domestic abuse or otherwise situations. Now, loads of those occasions, it's what's to hand.
And my suggestion to you is that there is something very different about domestic abuse than the picking up a knife and sticking it into somebody, that actually the issue is one of coercive and long-standing control.
I know that.
Where
I'm not saying that.
And who is emotionally abusing and psychologically abusing the victim over a long period of time, so that she feels very often paralysed and unable to get support. And when she goes to get support, then that is not, she does not get the support she needs immediately if she makes repeated attempts. And I'm not saying the police aren't doing a much improved job, because I think the police have improved at the work that they've done over a period of time and are making better responses. But we need to look at what is the problem and what are the best answers to the problem, rather than coming up with something which, to be quite frank, feels a bit gimmicky.
Why are you taking this simplistic view that the police are suggesting this is the only answer to this problem? It isn't. It is patently not what the police are saying. They are saying it has been suggested. It came out of a multi-agency meeting, as it happens. Someone suggested it, and they said, we'll give it a run, see what happens.
Is Mary's point not that the money could be better spent elsewhere? You know, this is a trial.
If this was costing millions, I'd agree.
But it's only a trial, and it could be rolled out nationally, couldn't it?
It's only a trial. It will get whatever feedback it gets. I suspect there will be very little positive feedback on it. But it's a few £1,000s.
Mary, jump in.
Let's have some trials looking at how we can ensure that the first time a woman reports to the police domestic abuse, that instead of it having to be the third time before she gets the support she needs, let's make sure that when she reports, she gets the support she needs immediately, first time, and that she's always treated seriously by the police. Now, I know that the police have improved their response, but there is still a way to go. And that's the point I'm making, that you have to start off with what is the problem, and then you have to start looking at solutions to the problem. To say that the problem is sharp knives rather than blunt knives is hardly the point. The problem is that we still do not have a dedicated response to domestic abuse, which ensures that when somebody reports it, it's dealt with and the woman gets the support she needs the first time she reports. And knowing that, that's several years after she's first been abused.
And doing or not doing this trial is not going to make the slightest bit of difference to that.
I suppose
if this had been suggested, and the police had said, oh, no, we can't be bothered with that, it's not going to do anything, and then somewhere down the line, a victim stabbed by their own kitchen knife, which is a sharp kitchen knife, everybody would be jumping up and down, and Mary would no doubt be amongst them leading from the front, saying, why didn't the police do this? It would have cost a few quid. Why can't they be bothered?
Are the police opening themselves up to criticism, though? You know, if blunt knives are put into a house and then someone is violently attacked, then they're going to be criticised even more, aren't they? They're going to say, well, you know, they have this silly trial with blunt knives, and yet clearly that person is still being attacked.
But they're not saying they won't. It will stop the attacks. It's just saying that it's a slightly less dangerous weapon lying around the house. You're going to have knives in a house. You can't have a kitchen without knives. So they're going to be there. Let's just make them a little bit less dangerous.
Mary, a final thought from you?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're going to go ahead and do it, you'll do it. But what I'm saying is that there is a different problem, that you're not going to solve the solution to domestic abuse and use of sharp instruments against women by changing the shape of some knives in some homes. That let's have a real conversation about what the real problem is and how we can reduce the risk to women from domestic abuse perpetrators, and look at reducing the amount of time that a woman waits before she gets the support that she needs.
That conversation is being had across the country, and I'm sure in Nottingham.
OK, and certainly in our studio as well. Thank you both very much indeed. Peter Kirkham and Mary Mason, we appreciate your time and your thoughts. Thank you.